Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. It's Tuesday, which means it's the BluePrint Power Hour. Also, for those of you who've been following my show for at least a few years, every year at the end of the summer, around now, October, November, I get something. I'll probably lose my voice in a couple days. I can feel it working on me. It's got to be a virus, and it's got to be triggered by the change in the season. I never had this problem when I lived in Nevada or Arizona. But I have it here in Kentucky, and I can feel it. I feel like I'm coming down with something. I'm a little achy. I feel a little feverish. I doubt that it's COVID, and I'm in this studio by myself, so I really don't care. But every year, any of you who followed this show for any length of time know every year at the end of the summer, I get this thing, and it's come back to visit again. We have a great show planned for you today. Coach Rob Regish will be on with me in just a moment. Before we do that, we have to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods. We just sent a bunch of email addresses in for people who've been emailing the secret word to onair@superhumanradio.net. A lot of people are going to have some really exciting packages to open very shortly. I want to ask everybody to do something. If you've already gotten tasty pastries from the show, sit on your hands. I have people that are ordering now 2 times, and that's just greedy. That's just effed up, to be honest with you. So if you've already gotten a care package, please don't order more. It's not nice. I'm not keeping track. You'll probably get over on me. But, you suck for doing it. If you hear the secret word during the commercial break, email it to onair@superhumanradio.net. And we will send you a beautiful care package from Legendary Foods that will startle you. It has so much exceptional stuff in it. And as a result, we ask that you email us a picture of you opening the package because that we can use for social media. If you want to buy them, if you've gotten them already for free and you thought, oh, man, these things are great, I need more, go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off of everything that they have at Legendary. But again, listen for the secret word during the commercial break. Email it to onair@superhumanradio.net. Don't forget to include your mailing address. I had somebody the other day who sent it in without their mailing address. And, I'm not going to be a dick about it. So I said, hey, how about your mailing address? But if I don't want to have to email people back and go, hey, you forgot to put your mailing address in. Like, remember to put your mailing address in so that you can get the package. That's all I'm asking. It's it's not a lot of work. And now, without further delay, let's see if I have his music queued up. We have a problem. You're going to hear it in the background. There's this ticking noise, and it's coming from the computer that Rob is coming in on. And we're going to try to adjust it so it's not as... It won't drive you crazy as much as it's driving me crazy, but it's there and we know about it.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Good. I'm sorry about the tick, and sorry to hear about your little sickness here. How long does it usually last?
About a week, 4 days to a week, and then it's
It sounds totally environmental, so it's got to be something down there.
It's this computer. It's the computer that it's gone now. It's the computer that Skype and that the stream comes in on, and I have to have. I got a brand new computer. I just haven't taken the time to open it up and deploy it. Jimmy Moore is watching the show. Hey Jimmy, how you doing, brother? Hope your goals are working out. I see you posting pictures, losing weight. You can do it. Stick with it, and feel free to reach out if there's anything I can do for you. Okay. So, what's going on at Mass Pro Synthegen? What's going on with your?
We've got about 4 days left now, 4 or 5 days of the special, and it's a 10-year anniversary. So if you head on over to synthegen.com, use the discount code celebration. You get $10 off a single bottle, which we've never done before, and $10 off multi-packs, plus a nice mass hat, black and white cap. Very, very high quality stuff like the product, and that's by design. So if you never used it before, now is a great time to order, let's say, 1 bottle. And if you do, you'll probably wind up like 90% plus of our customers reorders. I mean, we live and die on reorders, and 10 years of them says something, I think.
Dylan Goutreau says, same here. Head cold, virus, whatever. Knocks me out for a week. Achy and cold, sweats while sleeping. Got it last week. Still feeling a little icky. It started this morning. I could feel it. I told Elisa, I feel it coming on. It's getting worse and worse. And happens every year. So what I do now is I go home, I take massive doses of LL37 and thymosin alpha 1 and go sit in the sauna tonight all night long and force the process to happen faster, raise body temperature and all that sort of stuff. So let's get to the first question. And it comes from, it's a long question, so bear with me here. I have to read it in segments. It comes from Gabriel Shaw. Do you see any harm in microdosing ibuprofen, specifically no more than 400 milligrams 3 times a week? I don't think that's a microdose between you and me, but anyway. After trying all other usual suspects, cesis, boswellia, etc., I haven't found anything that comes close to a small amount of ibuprofen for minimizing aches and pains. And it actually seems to have positive effects on my training. I also take 1 baby aspirin at night. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, one of the things right off the bat is I've noticed that when it comes to pain management type stuff, both supplements and drugs, it's a very, very individual matter. So let me give you an example. The vast majority of people that take cesis or boswellia find at least some relief, but in a small subset of people, right, as we see here, they don't get any. Why that is, I don't know. On the other hand, the over-the-counter drugs for pain and inflammation also have a high degree of success in most, but which one is a highly individual matter. So, I know some folks who do great on just 1 aspirin. Others do better with acetaminophen or ibuprofen. If I really need some sort of over-the-counter pain relief, I do best on naproxen sodium. So, AKA, Aleve. So if you haven't tried that yet, I would suggest it. I also think, the first question you should be asking rather is, why do things hurt, right? Because here's why it's important. If it's arthritis, that's going to be one answer. If it's tendonitis, that's another. Most little aches and pains are a simple matter of overuse. And in that instance, just cutting back on volume, frequency, or some extended time off can take care of those pain issues. No meds needed, right? To answer your question, though, before I go any further, assuming you have no other underlying health conditions, I don't see any great harm in 400 milligrams of ibuprofen 3 times a week, assuming also that you do okay also taking that baby aspirin at night. I know some people have a lot of problems with it. Hopefully you're not one of them. Now, when it comes to whether it hurts you or helps you, I can understand why people are confused. You're going to find research that shows ibuprofen and acetaminophen lowers protein synthesis in younger folks, right? Mean age of about 25, the study I looked at. But you're also going to find research showing in that same age group, ibuprofen in lower doses doesn't.
Well, and in older adults, ibuprofen actually can help because older people are constantly inflamed. They have chronic inflammation, and your body can't fix muscle tissue when the whole house is on fire. So by lowering the house fire, the body can go, oh, we're going to work on this muscle here. We're going to repair it. We're going to increase synthesis of new protein. So in older individuals, it can be beneficial.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. I don't know how old he is, but I'm going to assume, right, he's not a senior citizen and therefore falls into that category. So we look back again at the studies done on younger folks. Why the discrepancy? Some say it helped, some say it hurt. It appears to me to be dose related. So 400 milligrams of ibuprofen in the studies that I looked at anyway did not impair protein synthesis, but 1,200 milligrams a day did, right? And note the study that showed 400 milligrams a day not being problematic, that study used 400 milligrams 5 days a week for 6 weeks. Whereas the study showing 1,200 milligrams, where it hurt, found issues inside of the first 2 weeks.
Did they look at liver enzyme? Did they look at liver function at all?
I don't think so. I don't recall.
And see, that's a problem. That's a problem for me because a lot of these NSAIDs can actually compromise liver function.
Yes.
And so now you've got, okay, so your joints don't hurt, you're in there crushing it, but your liver isn't functioning. And the liver is one of those things that there's no sign. It's not like your liver hurts. Oh my God, my liver hurts, something's wrong. It's not until you end up with an abscess in your liver or a tumor in your liver, and then it's like, oh crap.
Yeah, so if you want to stack the deck there, I would certainly recommend taking things to help your liver. You know, curcumin will do it, alpha lipoic acid helps, N-acetylcysteine, which we discussed last week. But it's best, right, to have blood work so that you know for certain, right? And so you'll be able to say, yeah, 400 milligrams 3 days a week, I'm not going to pick on my liver. There doesn't seem to be a interaction with anything else I'm taking. You should be good to go. And I think at that dose, and certainly in the frequency, you're not taking it every single day. I would think they'd be on the low side. Now, from what I can see, the people that do have issues that might wind up in the ER with liver problems, etc. Most of those folks take it every day and handfuls of it, meaning gram amounts or more. That doesn't mean that can't happen at a lower dose. It's just an observation. So here's the bottom line. Get a diagnosis on what's causing the pain, right? If it's not overuse, then I would next try looking at the movements that you're using in the gym and finding those that don't exacerbate the pain. We are creatures of habit. We don't like to change the movements we use. It's something that you're going to do. Switching movements frequently, by the way, about once every 2 weeks, was a hallmark of Larry Scott's training. And in fact, he had a training course that I, participated in and used for a couple of years. And he said at the beginning of the phone conversation, these have been a new lease on life for me. And my body really did thrive switching movements every 2 weeks. So having said that, I wouldn't necessarily sweat that your proposed ibuprofen use. Just pass that by your doctor, get the requisite blood work done, let's say, twice a year, to make sure everything's good.
So I want to weigh in on this, but first I got to answer just a couple things. Craig Hollander came in late. Yeah, we know about the tapping. It's coming from inside the computer. We tried to do something. Rob, go ahead and take the headphones off and just go back to the normal setup because your volume is so low with the count to 5, Rob.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So now the problem is you're going to hear my voice feedback because that's what we were trying to fix earlier. So I can either turn Rob's volume up. I think you better plug the headphones back in because the feedback is too much. I don't know what's going on.
All right.
Interestingly enough, it's happening. But see, I got to turn Rob's mic up so loud. Talk, Rob. Talk.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
That's as loud as I can make it. So that's it. Okay. I want to talk about inflammation. Inflammation is one of these things that everybody thinks it's the same. There are multiple pathways where inflammation occurs. Not all inflammation is the same. And as a result of that, not all inflammation is going to respond to just NSAIDs or just Boswellia. And you really have to attack inflammation from several angles. But most importantly, if you have gut problems, you're never going to get rid of the inflammation until you fix your gut. That's it. Because inflammation is the army of the immune system. And if your gut is messed up, it's tweaked. It's going to overproduce inflammatory actors, and it's going to cause you a lot of problems. A lot of people don't respond to NSAIDs at all. I took an Aleve one day, did nothing for me. And my friend Joey says he takes one for 12 hours. He has no pain.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
that's exactly what I said.
So inflammation, it's not like, all inflammation is the same. You have to experiment and find what works for you, number one. Let's see here. Let me get a couple of things here. I don't like the feedback. Yeah, we got rid of the feedback. I prefer the tapping. Yes, that's good. Okay. And we'll talk about your chronic eye inflammation in a little bit. Let's go ahead and get another one of these questions. And I'm sorry about the ticking. It's annoying to me, but it is what it is right now. So Justin Bronx says, I caught your mention of all research going on with ecdysterone a few weeks back. But it's never really worked for me. It seems feedback is almost split evenly between those that love it and those that hate it. Why is that?
Well, there are reasons that I'm going to get into, but it's likely there are other reasons that we will never, unfortunately, be able to work out. So let me explain about that. You heard me mention just a few minutes ago about certain over-the-counter painkillers working for some people, and others get nothing at all. So, the question's why. It is likely for the same reason that some people are severely allergic to nuts, and it almost kills them, and I can eat them till the cows, come home.
Right.
It's genetics or DNA.
It's individuality. The pharmaceutical industry has convinced us that we're all the same and we need all the same drugs, and that's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
It's individuality.
And so that's something inside of us that we can't control. It just is. Now, it also doesn't help that ecdy is often referred to and discussed as a singular compound rather than what it is, a family of compounds, 500 strong. And so that, in that respect, they're like steroids, right? So here's a good example. It would be fair to say Anadrol is an effective anabolic. I think most people would agree. It would not be fair, though, to say that Andreol, testostectinate, I think it is. It's just not. I mean, it's, Duchenne himself said it's virtually, you can take all you want, it's virtually useless. Yet, they are both steroids. We can also discuss companies that use junk starting material, which is cyanotis anything. But that problem's been known about for decades, and sadly, it still is a problem. Or we can discuss how much of the good stuff that you need, 500 milligrams to a gram a day, in my opinion. But the single biggest issue in people not getting the results they want with ecdy is this. They fail to create a stress which is needed for ecdy to exert its adaptogenic effects. So notice the word I just used, adaptogenic. Notice the word I didn't use, anabolic. They're not anabolic, they're adaptogenic, which isn't to say that they won't give you some, noticeable beneficial results. They will. But you're not going to add 15 to 20 pounds like you're on test and D-ball. If somebody is telling you otherwise, they're lying to you. The stress I'm talking about is necessary, and it should be, let's say, physiological in nature. So meaning either the body is changed with a new novel training stress, or you are dieting pretty severely, and in fact your carbs or calories go so low that they deplete cellular energy stores. So you've done entire shows on this. AMPK, that's your body's sensor, so to speak, gauging the energy state of the cell. Once those ATP levels dip past a certain threshold, a physiological stress is triggered. You'll note some of the best ECTI feedback on the boards over decades comes from people in a cutting phase, and a pretty severe one. That is no accident. That's no coincidence. So teeing your body up like that to take maximal advantage of ECTI is, unfortunately, it's both an art and a science. And I dare say I took that further than anyone with the original BluePrints training and dietary phases. They were very specific. They're very calculated. They work extremely well. The feedback I get is almost 100%. And I'm trying to work on something now that's going to make it easier to put that information in the hands of people so that they can see for themselves. Until then, just understand, getting the most out of this compound involves more than just taking X capsules a day until the bottle runs out, changing no other variables and hoping for the best. Hope is not a game plan. I've said it a million times. It doesn't work like that. It never has, it never will. It takes a little something extra. So I hope that gives you some insight as to why it might work for others, but not for you.
So let's bring this question up from a viewer.
Yep.
Camilla Cierzo has a chronic eye inflammation issue, and correct me, Camilla, but it's in your retina, and it's controlled by taking eye drops. These are usually prednisone, some sort of corticosteroid. Nothing else works, not diet, nothing. And I want to ask Camilla something. Have you or do you use melatonin, Camilla? Because melatonin has some profound protective effects on, it's called uveitis, right? I actually have a friend in the next office that has it right now. And I've got him taking melatonin. So you've been taking, you've had it since you were 5. But are you taking melatonin right now? At least 3 milligrams a night. So I also had juvenile arthritis. So you have some inflammatory issues. How much melatonin do you take and how often do you take it? Melatonin has been shown in human trials to stop a variety of retinal degenerative disorders. Yeah, I tested positive for RA, okay? 6 milligrams a night, okay. That should actually keep it from progressing, believe it or not. Now, I don't know that you're going to reverse it, but it absolutely can keep it from progressing. Melatonin appears to provide the retina, with profound protection. And so using melatonin, if anything, will help reduce the inflammatory response in the retina. Do you know about uveitis?
Yeah, and I'm starting to learn a lot more, unfortunately, about eye issues because of my dad. But I'll echo your comments. This brings me back, by the way, to every time I get an eye exam, you've got crystals in your eyes. Yeah, they're from canthaxanthin. We've known this they've been there for a long time. What I'm getting at is this. It may also be beneficial for you to take astaxanthin, because if I'm not mistaken, I saw multiple studies showing that got into the eye, so to speak, protected the eye from various issues. And if I can find that study, I'll post it for you. But I'm almost certain that it has effects in the eye. And that doesn't surprise me at all. Carotenoids, right? What do they tell you about eating carrots? Your eyes will get better.
Yeah, right. You have a good eye.
So
She says that when she was a competitive female, she was a female competitor, and once when she was using Decker, she had zero inflammation. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And see, this is the other problem with these corticosteroids. They increase intraocular pressure, which is glaucoma, but they also cause the crystalline lens to become opaque, which is a big problem. It's cataracts. So the longer she's on those, the higher the probability is that she's going to end up developing cataracts when she's older.
And isn't DECA legally prescribed in the United States?
It was introduced for women. DECA was introduced for women with breast cancer.
Yeah. So a progressive doctor, I'd say that's worth looking into.
Yeah.
Because you can't stay on prednisone and these other things forever, and my dad's finding that out the hard way.
Yeah, they make you blind. Randy Roach had horrible vision since he was a young kid. It's the eye drops that they gave him to take every day that made him blind eventually. It wasn't the disorder they were treating. It was the eye drops. Yeah, I mean, they do this all the time, doctors. It's like, oh, you got this problem. We'll give you this. You're going to end up with a different problem, but
that's a pretty big problem, blindness.
It's very, very sad.
Not a laughing matter, but
DECA worked once. So are you saying that you took it again and it didn't work, or are you saying that it worked the one time you used it? Let's see what she says. She said DECA worked once. I'm not interpreting that as it's not clear to me whether she tried using it before. Peter Gustafson said before we go into the break about getting sick at the end of the summer that he heard that the thymus gland catabolizes from the short exposure to infrared light. And apparently it has an effect on cortisol and melatonin. It gets pushed hard to create hibernation, at least in some mammals. That's interesting. Because this happens to me like clockwork since I've been living in Kentucky. When I wasn't living in Kentucky, when I was living in Arizona, when I was living in Las Vegas, I never got this at the end of the summer. But then there's sun out all the time there. So this is an interesting theory. I have to look into.
I wonder if thymosin alpha-1 might be more beneficial in that instance. That's speculation on my part.
Well, so they make thymosin alpha-1 and thymosin beta-4 eye drops. I used them when I had the ulcer in my cornea, and it's the only reason why. I have a very small blemish in my cornea, very, very small. And the reality is that it would have been a lot worse, but I used the thymosin beta-4 and the thymosin alpha-1, and it kept the fibrotic tissue from forming. Yeah, so Colaquench says, YouTube might be angry. Any discussion about ivermectin for disease du jour? I've mentioned I had to take a round for parasites a few years ago when abroad, and the side effects were minimal. Yeah, and ivermectin is great stuff. And, look, medicine has lost to politics. And there's nothing we can do about it because we have nothing but criminals in the White House today. Nothing but criminals. From the DOJ, the president, they're all criminals. And unfortunately, they are blocking. Someone needs to calculate the number of lives lost. Some doctor posted the other day he treated 5,000 severe cases of COVID and with ivermectin, and 4,900 and something got better within days, and it was like two died. That's the bottom line. 2 died. And somebody needs to go back and calculate the number of deaths because ivermectin was demonized and blocked and put people in jail. But no one's going to go to jail. They never go to jail.
Yeah, and you and I know how safe that drug is. Yet, when I inquired with my doctor about it, he said, ivermectin is now more tightly controlled and watched than opioid-based painkillers. Think about that.
That's so stupid.
It's beyond stupid.
You know what? We vote every year, and hopefully this next election won't be rigged. And it was rigged. Anybody who thinks that Joe Biden got more votes than Donald Trump, given the number of people that hate Joe Biden in this country, black, white, Hispanic, everybody, then you're just ignorant of the facts. But with that being said, we remember to vote. People hate the idea of voting for conservatives, like we're some sort of evil group. We love our families. We love our liberty. We will defend you and your liberties. But for some reason, people think, oh, but conservatives are evil people. No, the evil people are the ones doing this to our country right now. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we have lots of other questions and comments. Keep them coming. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. And thanks for being here, by the way.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. BPC 157. If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral, powering over 300 critical reactions, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about a new magnesium product I've been taking now called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced. With all 7 forms of magnesium, I was able to arrange an amazing deal for my audience, and I guarantee it's the best deal available on this product. Seriously, with volume discounts combined with our custom 10% coupon code SHR10, you can save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. And I promise that this deal is only available on this specific website, magbreakthrough.com/SHR. You won't find that deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use code SHR10 to save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/MyPillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. Knoll Creek Hemp Company's Delta 8 soft chews are the premier Delta 8 product on the market today. Knoll Creek's Delta 8 is produced from high-quality hemp-derived CBD oil, and soft chews are manufactured using proprietary nano-emulsification technique that ensures the Delta 8 soft chew will timely deliver the desired effects cleanly and consistently from piece to piece. In a space where at least 70% of the products fail to meet label claims and where most users of conventional hemp products are left disappointed, Knoll Creek's Delta 8 soft chews are a product you can trust. Visit shrnetwork.biz/Delta8. That's DELTA8 DELTA and the number 8, and use the code SHR20 to get 20% off your first order today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/White Oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. Man, it sounds bad. You hear that buzz and the tick, and we got to do something before that show. Let's see. So the next question comes from. Did we do this one already? Aaron Benton. He says, you once went over the psychology of using supplements, and that really stuck with me. Can you repeat what you said? Something about how placebos work, but also sometimes more than that. This may sound weird, but it changed my entire outlook on buying and using supplements. Thanks.
Yeah, so like many of you, I spent a ton of money on supplements over the years, almost certainly too much in the past. And in the past, it has pained me, right, to think about it. But not anymore. Not anymore. Let me tell you why. When you're young and dumb, it's not all bad. And here's why. In many instances, you will pay big money for a product that does little to nothing, especially when compared to what they're promising. Yet, because of that, you wind up making better gains than if you otherwise didn't buy and use it. And yes, much of that is due to the excitement of the product having the potential to vault your gains forward, right, in a drug-like fashion. And when I was younger, I scrutinized every facet of how something was supposed to work. I could, in some instances, repeat verbatim the advertising verbiage that was used in the magazines. And I studied everything. Its mechanism of action, right down to what other macronutrients and training went best with it. I didn't just randomly get up, right, the next day and down the required dose and went off to the gym. I woke up excited. I really did. To begin my training and dietary cycle with it. So if I started taking this thing next Monday, Sunday night, it was a great night, man, because I knew I was going to wake up and start with it, and then we're all going to, find out what happened. So it motivated me, far more so than just in the traditional sense, I guess you'd say. But notice the knock-on effect that I got. Not everybody gets this, or this is not how they handle it, I guess. The supplement caused me to tighten up or greater scrutinize the things that really mattered: training, diet, sleep. And so, as an example, a lot of you guys that remember it are going to laugh. Cybergenics was a great example. I paid $100 for it back in, 1989, which was a fortune in those days. And I could tell you down to the minute when I took what, which isolate, with or without meals, pre or post workout, and everything in between. Because, damn it, I worked hard for that $100. It took a while to save that up. And I was going to get something out of this, right? Either way. The supplement gave me something you absolutely need in this sport to succeed: regimen. That's probably the biggest thing that I got out of supplements and learned: regimen. I lived and still live a very regimented life. Back then, almost no room for partying, even dating, family, holidays. Nothing else mattered, right? You weren't going to take me away. I don't care if it was Christmas morning. You weren't going to take me away from my leg day if that was leg day. That I'm not saying that's right, but that's just how it was. I was that disciplined and structured and that determined. I can't say, now that I think of it, I can't say I ever took anything that made me think I would be stronger. That's usually the first indication of a placebo. You know, for a day, a week, 2 weeks, you think you're stronger. You might even be stronger, but of course, you know, it doesn't last. Not even methyl 1 test when I took that stuff way back in the day, and it didn't last long. But my strength has always been my strength. Okay. Having said that, it's a powerful lesson in expectations. I've always said here, expectations are powerful things, but none of it. You can have all the expectations in the world, but if you don't have regimen and you don't adhere to it, you're not going to get the results. On the other side of the coin, the more you adhere to it, the stricter you are, generally speaking, the better your results will be. The supplements that I bought only strengthen that regimen. The other thing I think you need to realize is this. You could be selling capsules full of wood chips, and you're always going to have that kid who buys it he's in the right place at the right time. Meaning, let's say he just turned 18, his hormones are in full swing now. He just discovered free weights and squatting and deadlifting, right? And eating 6 or 7 meals a day. He gets a hold of those wood chips, and by God, your wood chips are going to have the most glowing testimonial from that kid you could ever hope for. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for that kid. It's a bad thing if it makes it into the advertising for your product, because obviously wood chips aren't going to give you gains. But, you know, I would tell you this, don't look back and regret, say, all of that money that you spent in your youth, because if that caused you to go to greater lengths to get the gains that you were promised and expected, then so be it. That's a lot better than never getting those gains, in my opinion, because properly cared for, they're going to serve you well into old age. And in my case, they certainly have. Finally, it is precisely for that reason, by the way, that I'm so proud of Synthogen's feedback. Our average customer is not some young kid. He's not 16, he's 36. He's been lifting for more than a decade, and he's very much been around the block, so to speak. So when they come back raving and buying and buying and buying, repeat buyers, for over a decade now, that's when you know you've really succeeded. But here's the bottom line. You're going to make some mistakes. Everybody does. But doing so is going to give you the experience later on to find supplements like that, good ones like I just described, and stick with them. So whether it's Synthogen or something else, you're going to continue to be well served by those products, your experience that allowed you to hone in on those products, and know definitively that they are a good to great investment, depending upon how good you are at motivating yourself to get in there and really push your limits. That's what supplements do, in my opinion.
Let's get, we got a couple comments, questions we need to get to. Yep. The first one is Matt Perry. He's got here late, obviously. Yeah, we know we have a ticking noise, a buzzing noise. Something's going on with this computer. It could be dying. I may have to put a new computer in tomorrow. We'll have to see. But yeah, we made an announcement at the beginning of the show. It's annoying. I know it is, and I'm sorry for that. Let me get to this. Hold on. Let me go back and see what other questions and comments we have to answer. So there's a couple really good questions and comments. One of them is about DHEA. I want to find that one. I think it was Marcus Magard. I can find it. There's a list of comments today. It's great. Marcus. Marcus says, greetings from Sweden. I love to hear your opinion on supplementing with DHEA, especially for adrenal fatigue. First of all, there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue. Either you have Cushing syndrome, where your adrenals are not producing any hormones, and in that case, they're not producing cortisol. And you're going to have lots of problems, and people are going to be able to identify this disease right away. So adrenal fatigue is not accurate. What is accurate is the adrenals flip. They're doing at nighttime what they should be doing at daytime, and they're doing at daytime what they should be doing at nighttime. And that's easy to fix too, with some tricks to realign the circadian rhythm, melatonin before bed, a little GHRP6, just 100 micrograms first thing in the morning. It'll spike cortisol, and you can actually do that for a few weeks, and you can realign your circadian rhythm. I think DHEA is great, and I think as we age, everybody should take a little. Now, how much is a little? I take 100 milligrams a day. Some people take 25. You got to get tested and see where your DHE levels are. But coming back to what's his name said about the Peter Gustafson said, DHEA has been shown to revive the thymus gland. Like there's studies out there that show that taking DHEA every day revives the thymus gland. So I think DHEA is great stuff, and I've been taking it for years. So I am all for DHEA supplementation with blood work. Jim Slade says, I've been taking NAC for the liver function for years. Pretty sure I learned about it from SHR back in the day. Yeah, it increases glutathione production. It's also reduces congestion when people get sick. I mean, go ahead, Rob.
NAC is just a dynamite supplement to be using in general. Yes, it benefits the liver. Yes, it's great at breaking up mucus. Yes, it has a lot of value in the anti-inflammatory and the antioxidant arena. But consider this: every time you buy a bottle, glutathione is in every cell in your body. And it is such a reliable marker of biological age that the medical community actually uses it. So, what it measures what those levels are, and it tells them, right? This is how old this fella is. So, if you can keep those levels topped off, I think the whole body's going to function better. It's a long way of saying there's benefits everywhere.
Next couple questions are from Chris K. He says, what do you guys think about Clomid to lower estrogen? My estrogen is currently 52. That's not high. 52 is not high. And that's doctors get this completely wrong. Do you have symptoms? Do you have gynecomastia? Do you have tenderness in your nipples? Do you have any kind of moodiness where you feel like you're going to cry at the drop of a hat? 52 isn't high. I think what is considered the normal range to men is 0 to 42. 52 is not high. Number two, Clomid is not an anti-estrogen. It's a selective estrogen receptor modulator. So what it does is it attaches to the estrogen receptor and blocks estrogen from getting in. But it doesn't lower estrogen. If you want to lower estrogen, then you have to use an aromatase inhibitor. There's plenty of natural aromatase inhibitors, zinc, vitamin C, anything that reduces inflammation, because cyclooxygenase, which is the enzyme responsible for inflammation in the body, is part of the P450 cytochrome enzyme cascade, is one step above aromatase. If you reduce inflammation, you reduce aromatase production, and you reduce estradiol conversion from testosterone. So you don't need to get an anti-estrogen. First of all, your doctor's wrong. 52 is not terrible, unless you have symptoms. Are you lactating? I'm serious. Are you lactating? Are your nipples tender? Is the fat on your nipples growing?
Yeah, my first comment was going to be, is it causing problems? And if it is not, then I don't see the need to monkey with estrogen levels. And that's coming from somebody who did monkey with his estrogen levels back when
ATD. I know, we all did. We crashed our libidos. We couldn't sleep. I know.
I tell you, I just remember this woman walking in front of my car, and she was a 10. And I didn't even follow her. I just waited at the light like this, nothing. And it'll crush your HDLs. It'll throw your lipids all off if you lower it too much. So I would question that, and that leads into testosterone 958. Doctor wants me to take a little Clomid, presumably to lower my estrogen. I hope not just because your testosterone is 958. There's nothing to fear, and much good that comes from a 958 testosterone level that is well within the physiological range. And, taking an anti-estrogen just for the sake of taking one, I don't see the need.
No, and plus, Clomid, not being an anti-estrogen, is a selective estrogen receptor modulator. Men who take Clomid, they usually start out at 100 milligrams a day for a couple days, then 50 milligrams a day for a couple days or a week, and then 25 milligrams a day for months. They all get moody and they feel washed out, and they don't feel good, and it's a horrible drug. It's a fertility drug for women, but
they cry at movies.
Yeah, they cry at movies. They don't feel good because it's actually acting like estrogen.
Yeah.
And it's an abundance. So you almost have pro-estrogen effects from Clomid. So he says I have zero symptoms, then what is your doctor doing?
Right.
Tell him to GTFO. Tell him. Say, look, man, 52 is not a dangerous. I mean, if you had 170 and you were lactating and your boobs were growing, I'd say, okay, you got to do something. But 52 is not. And keep in mind, artificially suppressing estradiol in men leads to Parkinson's disease. When you look at Parkinson's disease, it happens to men 5 times more frequently than women until they go through menopause and their estrogen drops out. Men end up with all sorts of neurological disorders because estradiol is protective to the brain. Don't lower it unless you have symptoms. Okay, let's get to this question. Presently, I own a straight barbell, a Swiss multi-grip bar, and an easy curl bar in my garage gym. I'm thinking about buying a Hex Bar Trap Bar. What are your thoughts? I love the Trap Bar. I think everybody should have one.
I was going to say his next steps, if he hasn't already, should be a trap bar. There are a couple things that I learned in buying one for myself. One is make sure you have, particularly if you have a power rack, make sure you'll spring the extra money for the extra long
stem. Yeah, the stem, so you can get more plates on it. Because most of them, you'll only put 4 or 5 plates on it. And if you work with it regularly, you'll be able to put more than 4 or 5 plates.
Yeah, and not only that, it won't fit into a rack so that you can do other useful things with a trap bar, such as standing overhead military presses. A lot of people miss the boat on that. That is it is a fantastic movement to perform with a Hex Bar, but you're not going to be able to do it unless you can set it up on a rack at about shoulder level, get in there, right? Because you're not going to clean a Hex Bar. But that would be one thing. And the other thing was, look into those bars that don't necessarily have a hex or a triangle, but now they appear to be U-shaped.
Yeah, you can walk into it, right?
Right. So there's no stepping
over the bar. You could do farmer's walks with it.
There you go. So those are my 2 comments on the trap bar. Fantastic piece of equipment.
Yeah. Peter Gustafson wrapping up his comments he said, isn't the issue with a lack of cortisol despite stress that the hypothalamic signal hormones are getting really high to compensate? I read that soldiers with PTSD tend to have low cortisol and very high hypothalamic hormones. It doesn't say in the specific study, but high hypothalamic hormones tend to increase prolactin, and prolactin is a problem. But all of this, we're just guessing. There are tests to provide all of this data. If you have hyperprolactinemia, you can test for it. If you have, if you suffer from PTSD and cortisol is tanked out, you can easily do an ACTH challenge test where they inject you with adrenal corticotropin hormone, and then if your adrenals produce cortisol, then the problem's not with your adrenals, it's with something else that's signaling. So we could sit here and ponder this all day, but there's 6 or 7 different moving parts in this discussion. Each of them can be tested for. Each of them can be isolated as the culprit. And that's really what needs to be done for these people. But it's not. These doctors just put them on some sort of hydroprednisone or hydrocortisone tablets and send them away, never fixing the problem.
Yeah, and it's doubly tough because in our community, a lower cortisol level is looked at as a good thing, right? I mean, there are people that take phosphatidylserine and all other, sorts of supplements to lower cortisol to these levels. So there's not a lot of knowledge that I can see surrounding what to do when you've got a lack of cortisol, and it probably is definitely best to get blood work, but probably more so to find out what is out of balance. Something is causing that, and you don't necessarily, the answer doesn't necessarily have to be a prescription drug, but until you know what it is and what to do to get that back in balance, that's your challenge.
Sodium. So, a lot of people don't realize, but all of the sex steroids interact with the corticosteroid receptors, all of them. Testosterone, DHEA, estrogen, and also let's not forget that sodium, which turns on, I can't think of the name right now. What's the hormone that helps you retain sodium? Aldosterone. So sodium plays a role in cortisol production through the aldosterone protocol. If you're somebody who's starving yourself of sodium, in fact, Adele Musa just published something on Subversity. You got to go look at it. The death rate of people consuming less than 5 grams of sodium a day, all-cause mortality, is through the roof. Meanwhile, your doctors tell, don't eat more than 2,000 milligrams of sodium. Your kidneys are working so hard. Aldosterone's getting jacked around. That's causing other hormone imbalances, including cortisol. It could be as easy as salting your food and fixing this problem.
Yeah, sodium gets a bad rap, especially in our community. Low sodium. Why? Sodium does a lot of good things, and I'll tell you this: if you're really low on sodium, and then you just salt your food once or twice a day, you're going to see some massive increases in your strength in the gym. And particularly, it's particularly good if you're using creatine, because even more so than insulin, creatine transport into the muscle cell is dependent on the sodium transporters. So that's definitely something to look into.
So latest in bodybuilding, Olympia, we know his voice is troublesome right now. We know this. If you would have tuned in earlier, I've been making announcements that Rob's voice is low, but when we produce the podcast, I bump it up. I fix all these problems. We have an issue with this computer. There's a ticking noise. There's a buzzing noise, and Rob's audio is too low, but we'll fix all that. If you want to come back and listen to the podcast, you'll hear the audio is perfect. I can't get rid of the ticking noise, however. Okay, last question. Robert Closer says, look into low T3. There is a connection to cortisol. Absolutely. But there's not just a connection to cortisol. There's a connection between cortisol and T3 in the opposite direction, too. Because when you have high cortisol, you end up producing a lot more reverse T3. Reverse T3 occupies the receptor, but doesn't activate it. So yes, you're right. There's a lot of that's why when we have people who say, you just need to do this one thing, run away from those people. Because the body is so fucking complex. Right. It's an insult to think that, you just have to do this and everything will be better. Bullshit. Complete bullshit. And that's what gurus say, because they just want to deliver one message and convince you that they know what they're talking about. It's so much more complicated than anyone wants to let on. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. I want to introduce you to Towel Patch, a heavily researched patented wearable device that provides immediate and long-lasting health benefits. Towel Patch's nanocrystals convert your body heat into light of specific therapeutic frequencies that optimize your central nervous system. The health benefits of Tau Patch include relief from chronic pain, better sleep, increased focus, reduced stress, improved athletic performance, and more. Discover what it can do for you by visiting shrnetwork.biz/Tau Patch. That's TAOPATCH. Use code SHR for your superhuman discount today. Every day, there's a new wellness trend. Eat that. Do this. Avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed, trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized, one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/inside tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside. Is there something interfering with your happiness or ability to achieve your goals? BetterHelp can help. They will assess your needs and match you with a licensed therapist. This is not a self-help or crisis line. It's professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of experts and are available worldwide without having to wait in an uncomfortable waiting room. Get the help you need and start living a happier life today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/betterhelp. That's better, HELP, and receive 10% off your first month of counseling when you use the code SHR. Redcon One's new BAR bar is the ultimate soft-baked protein-packed snack bar, powered by peanut butter. Perfect for while on the go to help curb hunger or sneaky sweet tooth cravings. With 20 grams of protein, use as a meal replacement bar or when you're in need of a high-protein snack. Eat a Redcon One bar as a midday snack or for fuel before an intense training session. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Redcon1 and use the code SHR25 and save 25% off these delicious bars today. BPC 157. Have you been struggling to achieve results in the gym? Trouble sleeping through the night? Overwhelmed with stress or anxiety? Look no further than Infiniwell supplements. They have designed products to address specific needs like muscle growth, hormone balance, sleep, and anxiety from the first use. Infiniwell helps you live well. Go to shrnetwork.biz/bewell, that's BEWELL, and use code SHR20 and start living well today. Is there something interfering with your happiness or ability to achieve your goals? BetterHelp can help. They will assess your needs and match you with a licensed therapist. This is not a self-help or crisis line. It's professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of experts and are available worldwide without having to wait in an uncomfortable waiting room. Get the help you need and start living a happier life today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/betterhelp, that's better, HELP, and receive 10% off your first month of counseling when you use the code SHR.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Hey, welcome back. Oh, yeah, you got to plug that back in. Okay, you did. Welcome back. So, Rob, what is the blueprint tip of the day?
Tip of the day can be summed up like this: invest in yourself and not everything around you. So there's an old Chinese proverb I really like, and it goes just like that. The wise man invests in himself. The foolish man invests in all around him. The older you get, the more you're going to see the truth in that statement. I saw that truth early while I was working at the insurance factory, right? The first 20 years of my work life. You can make a nice living in insurance, and many people do. I rubbed elbows with some very wealthy people, but also many who failed to realize what I thought was obvious. They were building a house of cards. And so this is an important lesson. So please just kick back and listen and let me explain what I saw and experienced. For most of these folks, an absurd amount of importance was placed on appearance, but not as, let's say, you and I see it. These people, it was different. They always wore the latest fashions. They always drove the most expensive cars, and some of these folks lived in borderline mansions. In some cases, all of these trappings were literally worth, millions of dollars, maybe more, and yet those clothes, those expensive toys, they were all worn and collected by people with 10-cent bodies. It always blew my mind, right? What I saw, and every day I'd walk in and see it. A lot of the women would cover every inch of themselves in expensive clothes, certainly jewelry, and the hairs, the nails, the teeth, costing God knows how much. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, but this is on a whole different level, right? Yet these same women would be 20, 30, sometimes 50 pounds or more overweight. And so, had they lost all that extra baggage by eating better and exercising, they would look like $1 million and not have to dress in clothes that cost almost that much. The men were just as bad. They just didn't go to the same, let's say extreme with physical appearance. But instead, the game was you had to have lots of stuff to advertise, right, how successful you were. They drove BMWs, they drove Audis, and they'd let you know that they've got a summer car too. Those are just the winter and other season cars. Oh, in the summer house, right. Sometimes a boat. Many of them bragged about their latest stock picks, and I love this. They'd be telling me about how they invested in some brand new IPO, and in the last couple weeks or months at the most, they've tripled their money, or even more than that. What I never heard about, and this goes for most people that brag about their investments, you never hear about the ones that drop by half or more, or even they lose the entire investment because the company went belly up. You're going to always hear about people's winners, never their losers, and these people were the extreme example of that. So, think about it logically. These guys can do what professional money managers with entire teams of people, reams of data, algorithms, etc. can, right? Consistently beat the market, sure. But that's how it appears. So, same deal as the women when it came to what really mattered. Most of them were overweight, in god-awful shape. They're showing all the signs of insulin resistance. Of course, what you can't see is on the inside, heart disease, much higher likelihood of cancer, and other things that go along with that, like stress. Because when you invest in all around you instead of yourself, that's expensive, which means big bills to pay. Almost none of it was paid for, by the way, meaning most of it was on credit. They were paying ridiculous amounts of interest on their purchases, and with that comes a lot of stress. A lot of us have made that mistake. We've overspent with the bill collectors and blah blah. Hopefully you only have to learn that lesson once. And so these guys learned the hard way, and I know that because I saw for myself what happened when many of them lost their jobs during the Great Recession. So picture having monthly bills of $5,000, $10,000, sometimes more, and suddenly no paycheck. Then your wife walks out on you. The divorce attorneys don't come cheap. Neither does child support and the rest of that crap. It's a classic example of another favorite saying of mine. You only know who's swimming naked when the tide goes out. So when the tide goes out and they lost their jobs, it was very obvious it was swimming naked. Now, I don't want people to get me wrong. I'm not against having nice things. I have some nice things. Most of these people that I'm talking about work extremely hard for that money. I saw it for myself, extremely hard. And so, splurging here and there isn't the problem. It was the constant need to keep up with the Joneses that killed them. When a nice car wasn't enough, they needed two. Same deal with houses. If they bought a boat, it wasn't long before they needed a bigger one. So for 20 years, I watched these people seek happiness by investing in everything but themselves. They never found it. Never. I can also tell you that I've seen the end game for a lot of these men and women in the nursing home when I worked in that line of business. It is a humbling place, not just for these guys, but for a lot of people, because at $400 or more a day, which is the average here in Connecticut, which admittedly is more than the rest of the country, but still, $400 a day, it stripped them of their wealth fast, right? And to add to the indignity, that $400 a day rate only gets you a semi-private room. It is not buying you the quality of life anywhere near what you might expect. So think about it. The very things that define them, all of it, disappeared like that. And the only saving grace in that was that most of these guys now had something a lot more important to worry about: their health. Unlike the expensive toys, however, no amount of money that they had was going to buy that back. It was too late, because they never invested in themselves. They invested in everything else. So here's the bottom line. No matter how it may appear otherwise, investing in yourself is the smartest investment you will ever make. Please try to remember that. It'll
Very good stuff.
Yeah, save you a lot of heartache.
Sorry for the audio problems today. I'll try to get this fixed tonight. I don't feel good. I'm lying. I'm not going to do anything tonight. I'm going to go home and get in the sauna. I'm hopefully be able to fix it tomorrow before tomorrow's show. And thank you to Rob. Don't forget to visit CoachRobRegish.com. And thank you to you, all of you who show up to participate in the live show. You make the show so much better. I couldn't do it without you. I want to thank everybody. And we will see everybody tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Don't forget to share the show, even with the annoying tick. And the podcast won't have this. The podcast will not have this, I can assure you. Rob is a natural. Fantastic. Thank you, Carmela. Thanks for being here live. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Take care.